Good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are. Very, very warm welcome from my side. I'm Ralf, and I'm co-facilitating this webinar with Natalia.
Hi, everyone. Very nice to have you here. And we are excited to begin our session.
Yes, and during the session, we will switch off our webcams so that you can fully concentrate on the slides and on our explanations. Whenever you have a question, please type it in and I will monitor the incoming questions. And whenever a question pops up, I'm happy to answer it and address it as it comes along. And I wish us a great time and a great 45 minutes on how to unleash your virtual team performance. And I'm switching off my webcam now.
So enjoy the session. So let us introduce ourselves in a little bit more detail. Our first presenter is Ralf. He's a project management expert and facilitator for online and virtual teamwork since 1991. He has led numerous virtual teams and coached global leaders and global virtual leaders. He has written his PhD thesis on virtual team work and virtual team performance. And we will see some of those ideas in this session as well. In Ralf's spare time, his hobbies are riding his very fast bicycle. He enjoys walking on sticks, and once a week he performs systemic conflict resolution with his wife, which means he goes dancing with her.
Great, thank you, Natalia. And that's Natalia. Natalia is a business consultant and project manager since 2005, and she's very active. She has lots of energy. So Natalia does triathlon, which means swimming, running, and riding a bike without electrical power support. Travels a lot and likes to be in nature. It's great. Natalia is originally from Ukraine and lives in Germany for a very long time, married to a German. And Natalia has 3 children. I have 4 children, so we have plenty of children in our company. And it's fun working with Natalia. It's really fun working with her, Natalia, and enjoying her energy. And you will feel her energy also during this session. We want to make it a little bit interactive for you, which means we have a couple of polls for you. And please answer the poll now. Okay, 25% of you voted, 38%, 50% voted. Okay, 63% voted, you're doing really great. 80% voted, 88% voted. And 100% voted. Great. So let's see. What you had here, and which means sometimes virtual teams are fun, sometimes are not. It's a majority. And sometimes virtual teamwork is effective and fun. None of you said virtual teamwork is a nuisance, which is really good because basically virtual teamwork can be lots of fun. And because it's lots of fun, we can tell you how you can enhance your fun and your efficiency to make it more effective as we go along. So
let's see what are expectations and what are learning objectives for this session. So at the end of this webinar, you will be able to state 3 main challenges of virtual teamwork. We will give you some insights and you can see how that works. Recall 11 VTMM processes. VTMM is our virtual team maturity model that we will explain in the course of this session. And as you see, it consists of 11 processes. And you will be able to explain how virtual team performance improvement works in practice. And you will hopefully, very hopefully, will take some insights for your teams and could improve your virtual team performance.
And this is what we are going through. We give you a little overview of the virtual challenge, your benefits. We give you our solution. We have a project proposal for you, which you may want to learn about, and we give you a quick summary. I had some disruptions on your audio, Natalia, so I picked it up.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear again.
Great.
So you see, that's a little secret. Whenever you deliver a webinar, make sure you deliver the webinar with 2 presenters, which are on 2 different locations. So if one location has a problem with the internet, you can be relatively sure that the other location can continue. And that's the reason why we are in 2 different locations. I'm in Dieburg, which is close to Darmstadt, and Natalia is in Frankfurt. And it's very unlikely that we will have an interruption in service. Just a little piece of advice, how you overcome potential technical problems because the internet is not extremely stable sometimes. So the workplace of the future, what will be the workplace of the future? The corporate world is becoming a global virtual workplace. Despite what the leaders of the world are doing, business will still continue to be more and more globalized. However, what current politicians are doing, it will be more and more difficult to travel. Give you an example, a business partner of mine, Manish, he's just delivering a course in China and he's using Gmail. And nowadays, you cannot send any Gmails from China, and he cannot receive Gmails in China. That's because of this silly trade war they're doing there, the Chinese and the US Americans. And strange enough, he can communicate through WhatsApp. So the logic behind I didn't really understand so far, but that's a different story. Also, we will have more and more technology in the workplace, which will allow us to work from anywhere, all over the time. Our own company is virtual. We have a person in India, we have another one in Thailand. We have people in all scattered over Germany. It works perfectly if you know how to do this. And virtual teams keep growing because basically we have access to the talent everywhere. You don't have to travel, and you can create value and have a meaningful job. So what are the benefits? Increased productivity. Now, I have a lot of people and they don't have to travel. They work from home, and if they want to socialize, they can do it through the internet. And this really increases productivity. You have access to specific expert knowledge all over the place in real time because the people are there whenever you need them. And this also implies reduced costs. For example, we save a lot of money in office space because we only have a small office where we meet twice a year for a party. And basically it's better for your health because you reduce stress. It's better for the environment. You avoid pollutions, which is a big, big topic nowadays, at least in Germany. And it's more flexible. You see, you can work whenever you want to work. You work in the morning, you take off the afternoon, you work in the evening. All this is workable, possible for virtual teamworks.
Nevertheless, there are enough challenges to virtual teamwork and work in the global workplace. So what are they? Missing nonverbal communication. As you know, only a small part of our communication, what kind of messages we send and receive, comes through the verbal communication. It's around 7% what the study says. The rest of it is nonverbal. There's gestures, there is the face expression, there is some other small details that might be lost if you don't communicate face to face, but there are obviously also remedies to that one.
Yeah, one little question, there was a question popping up here from Christian, whether you will get the presentation at the end. Basically, you will get the video of this webinar, and you can look at the video over and over and over again. Yeah, so that's a whole video we'll send to you after the webinar, and then you can mark the minutes and the sequences which are the most meaningful to you. If you want to have this presentation, then we can send it as a PDF, but please send a message to Natalia after the webinar, and she can send it to you directly. You will get our contact details at the end of the session. Sorry for this, Natalia.
All is fine. Everything is fine. So the next daily challenge is cultural and linguistic differences. Linguistic differences is a more, so to say, feasible or more or criterion that you really observe. Usually people find the same language that they talk to, but sometimes you have participants who are not that proficient in the language that you chose to work in. But cultural differences are a lot more subtle, and we usually miss some clues or some points just because we are from a different culture. That, you know, they're like things like Americans communicate very straight and directly, and many Asian countries just communicate in a more subtle way. So we just have to be aware of those differences. New technology. There are so many different tools that you can work and you can use in virtual collaboration, and nevertheless you should make sure that everyone who you're working with can have the access to the same technology and has the knowledge of that technology. Otherwise the communication and the work would be quite limited. Isolation of individual team members. If you are someone who used to be working in an open space environment and all of a sudden you are alone, you might feel cut off, isolated from your team members. So it's also something to think about when you switch to more virtual collaboration. Missing team spirit. It is a challenge, it can be a challenge, but it doesn't have to be, because virtual collaboration can also be fun, and it can also be very energetic and full of positive emotions.
Yes, so
time difference. Our globe is that big that sometimes you really have to think what time you put your video conference or you call that you can span over all your team members. I have someone I know is leading a team of people in sitting in the US and India, and his main challenge is to find time for those weekly calls, because it's either too late for someone or too early or just inconvenient time. So that could be also quite a challenge.
So, and are we really prepared for the global workplace? Culturally based challenges to effective collaboration and leadership continue to be an obstacle. I'll give you an example. I was teaching at the university a course, International Management, and I've asked a question about leadership. And I said, okay, what are the traits of a good leader? And I gave a couple of examples. So, do you think Putin is a good leader? And because it was an intercultural audience, an intercultural group, there was quite a divide. Some people said, oh yes, he's really great, this is how a leader should be, and other people said, okay, he's not at all a leader, he's a dictator. And which means the issue of leadership separates people. Which means on a virtual team, when you really have a lot of different cultures, it's important for you to figure out what kind of leadership is really required in order to serve them. And sometimes different people need a different leadership style from yourself, which makes it really difficult. Even if you have a team face-to-face, which consists of many nationalities, virtually it can be really difficult. And the role of cultural differences is really underestimated. And I've noticed if you see the positive thing about culture, then it's really going well. So we call it the purple space. The purple space is a mixture of all the cultures on the team, which makes it really, really good and a nice place to be. And in a lot of cases, you find something which is called cultural dominance, and that's really, really bad, which means a smaller group of the team tries to dominate all the others, and normally these teams have less productivity. Many leaders agree that virtual teams are poorly managed. And the thing is, nobody told them what are the differences between the face-to-face leadership endeavor and the virtual team leadership challenge. And there are some things which you need to consider in virtual teams in order to make it work. Because a lot of people came to virtual teamwork through an email. And on this email, there was a statement, here you access data to WebEx or Skype for Business or whatever. And nobody ever explains to people how to use the platform and use the capabilities and use the different tools. The other thing is that universities are lacking behind because the world is growing faster than universities. And there are not a lot of courses offered at universities how to lead virtually. And there are not a lot of good role cases in the company of really good virtual leaders. And all these leads to a situation where we have really great technology in place, but nobody knows how to use it. And we have another poll for you. We want to see where you are. What is your top virtual challenge? It's your turn again. Okay, 20% voted, 30% voted, 50% voted, 60% voted, 70% voted. Come on, doing well. 80% voted, 90%, 100%. Well done, you're really great. And let's see the challenges. So lack of commitment of team members is the main challenge. And here's the thing, I think the people are not really committed because sometimes there's unclarity about what is their role. There's really not a good relationship in the team. There's a missing team spirit. And all this leads to a lack of commitment. So definitely it is. The miscommunications, that's another thing, because I don't know where you are. I don't know whether you're sitting here in a nice, relaxing place, whether you're at an airport, in the train. If you're in the train, I hope the internet will continue to work in Germany. And all this can lead to easily to miscommunications. And you have different cultures working together. And sometimes culture is not really being discussed on the team. So let's see what you can do about this.
Yeah, so let's see how we can address.
This. Okay, here's the thing. It's a survey we did. We did we do some active research, and what you see here is what you said. Okay, communication. 100% of the people said communication is a reason for failure, and also it's a reason for success. The participation of all team members is another reason for success, and also a reason for failure. And number 2, clear understanding of roles and responsibilities and roles. So a lot of people don't really know what is their role on the team, why are they on the team, what's expected from them. And then if you don't know what to do, simply you do nothing. Interesting is also the trust. How to trust people, how to develop trust over the internet is another big issue. So you see basically what you've encountered, which is leading to a lack of commitment of the team members, has several sources, several reasons. So far we talked about the virtual challenge. Now talk about your benefit.
So we would encourage you to actually take the advantage and embrace the opportunities of virtual teamwork and not be afraid to face the challenges, because as soon as you know what the challenges are, you can address them, and we will help you with that. So we are determined to help enterprises of all branches and sizes to take advantage of what can be done virtually and to expand the potential, to find those experts that you need for success of your project, to look for them globally. I mean, if you are not limited to any particular geography, you can just go for that person and for that profile and for that team member that you need. And it's not that difficult. It requires some other tools and some other processes in your team, but it's very exciting and fun. And we are going to share with you our VTMM, Virtual Team Maturity Model, to help you, to give you the insights that we have found out to improve your virtual team performance and to move your team performance to a completely new level through more structure, more mutual understanding, more commitment, and better cross-cultural understanding in your team.
So basically what we can do is we can assess your team performance, and you can assess your team performance yourself using VTMM. And then you have a basis where you say, okay, see, this seems on our team not working so well, and see, this seems to be working very, very well in our team, and collectively, what can we do in order to improve our team performance? So if you never talk about the team performance on your team, with your team colleagues in a structured way, it's very hard to improve it. And with a little effort on your side, for example, 1 hour each week, you can quickly improve the performance. So it's not rocket science. You can do this very, very easily and very quickly. And I think that's the key. If you know how to do this, you will be able to excel on virtual team performance quickly. Healthy virtual teams is very important to me, because a lot of virtual teams are unhealthy. You have a lot of conflict and stress. And this arises if people have kind of misunderstandings or they're on different speeds. One wants to move quickly, other wants to move a little bit slowly. All this needs to be balanced out. And we tell you how you can do this. So we are approaching our solution. You see, when I started my research, I thought about, okay, how can you help the people to bring virtual teamwork a little bit closer in a way that they understand it, in a way which is easy to communicate across the organization. And whenever you develop maturity models, you have different approaches. And I was going to a process one, which means I defined for each process input parameters, tools and methods, and output parameters and KPIs. And VTMM was empirically validated with over 600 practitioners globally for the performance of virtual teams. And it's very easy, because basically it's a maturity model, but it's agile at the same moment. Agile in the sense that you improve the virtual team performance in sprints. You have a sprint of 6 weeks, and in the 6 weeks, you improve 3 processes. And then you go for the next 3, and then you go for the next 3. And you only improve the processes you really need to improve in order to have a better team performance. So there are different processes. And I will go for the more softer one. The first thing, which is sometimes not working so well on virtual teams, is really a get to know each other process, which is fun, where the people learn something about it, and which leads to trust building. Also, the other one is arranged closing, which means you have a higher fluctuation normally of team members on virtual teams than on face-to-face teams. And sometimes people leave the virtual team and nobody really noticed or appreciated them for what they did. So very important to have a really good arranged closing down process.
There are also some processes that are not particularly different for virtual teams than for joint teams that work in the same office environment, but nevertheless they are important and they can improve virtual team performance, and the importance of those processes is higher for virtual teams as other means of cooperation on the face-to-face basis are missing. So for example, information management, it's quite nice to know who is supposed to share which information with whom on which basis, how quickly you can expect a response of your teammates, as we are saying that we're working with different cultures, and in some cultures it's just a normal thing just to say, okay, thank you, I got your email and I will get to you within next week, as opposed to some other cultures where it's okay to wait for 3 days and just to deliver to answer the question which was asked. So it's nice to define some rules for this matter. Perform task management, yeah, that's also a thing that you usually, if you assign a responsibility for a task or you assign a responsibility for a piece of a project, the person feels the responsibility for it and develops ownership for the result. And that can be also quite nice, especially in virtual teams that you don't see people every day. Organized decision making. This process is also very interesting from the cultural point of view, as there are some cultures, as we were already heard the example of, for example, Russia, where the society is quite authoritative, and you usually have one person, usually it's a team leader, who does the decision, which can be quite different for many of the Western European cultures, where we expect to talk about the decision criteria and things that we want to see and to go for. And it also develops the ownership and the participation of the group, if you understand how it works. Conduct meeting management. It's nice to have the same, everyone on the same sheet, to talk about whether you meet daily or weekly or semi-weekly, and just for the rest of the team to know what to expect and how the meetings are being conducted.
Okay, I'm multitasking here, because if you're asking questions, now I'm here. And engage in trust building. Engage in trust building is another thing which is really important, because in a lot of virtual teams you don't have enough trust, and you don't have enough trust because trust is never ever discussed on a virtual team. I think have a discussion about trust and thinking about what is behavior leading to trust and what is behavior leading to mistrust is culturally depending and needs to be discussed, because sometimes people think they do a trust building behavior and other people perceive it as the opposite. So really it's a key process. Set goals. You need to set individual goals, and your individual goals need to be aligned with your team goals. By the way, whenever you set goals, Peter Drucker, fifth discipline, said goals need to be SMART: specific, measurable, agreed, realistic, time bound. In the virtual world, goals need to be DUMB, D-U-M-B, and this stands for direct, understandable, meaningful, believable, which means whenever you want to engage people and you want to win their hearts, you have to have emotional goals for them and not only rational goals. And people like to be seen, and people like to get appreciation, and therefore it's important on virtual teams to have a give, rewards, and recognitions team. So basically, I'm counting the questions I'm receiving for you, and the more questions I will get from you, the more excited I will get over here, because it's the only way we get into a good communication, into a good dialogue, into positive feelings. And lately, give and receive feedback. You give us feedback through the participation in the polls, through your questions, and we love to get your feedback. So your feedback is really key to us. And in many virtual teams, the feedback processes are missing. They are absolutely missing and not being implemented at all. And that's a big mistake. This is really a a great leadership and inspirational tool to have excellent feedback on the team.
And the last process, which kind of goes over, like encompasses all other processes as agreed rules. And the rules are also very particular to every team. Every different team would have different rules, and they can be as strict as the team decides or as open as the team decides. It's just up to the team. So they are always on the same page about their wishes and expectations.
Yes, I've received a question. I received a question, and it says, trust, in my humble opinion, depends on ranks of attendees. If you have a superior boss at the group, people don't even share 50% of their knowledge, fear of mistakes, career killers, and so on. It depends on the culture you are in. So I know when we have calls with Asian teams, and the managers and the rest of the team is quiet. On the other hand, when we have teams from the Scandinavian countries or from the Netherlands, even if the boss is there, everybody speaks up. For me, it's a kind of education process to make really clear, listen, even if the superior is on the call, it's okay to speak up. And in many cultures, people say, okay, if children are on the table with adults, they have to be quiet because the adults have important discussions and the children get very bored. This basically happens also when you're growing up. As long as a perceived adult is in the room, the others keep quiet. I think it's an organizational dysfunctional behavior. And modern management schools say, particularly in the virtual area, you have to learn to speak up, even if a hiring person is in the room, which is part of the education process. Okay.
And the good thing, I just want to add that the good thing about the processes that we introduced, that they are kind of interwoven with each other. They are not separate, and we don't work separately on each process. And I'm sure that if a team has defined goals and define rules, and they invested a lot of time to get to know each other, to understand what the preferences of the other parties is to work, that would lead to more trust and more engagement in their virtual teams.
Yes. No, it's good. It's a good question. Thanks. Thanks for asking this question. And definitely all these is in the belief system of the people, and the belief system on a face-to-face team needs to be transformed to be successful in the virtual world. Here's an example of the get to know each other process. Who should do this? I should do this. Organize get to know each other, which means you give an orientation for the new team members and you to start creating a team identity. Team identity is very, very important. It's very relevant because these processes compensate for missing face-to-face interaction. And also it covers the informal aspect. I would love to have a cup of coffee or after the webinar, I would love to have a glass of beer or a glass of wine with you and discuss what you thought about this talk. Unfortunately, it will not happen. And therefore you need to find a compensation for this. And there we say, for example, we have personal introductions and expert knowledge. We have a couple of exercises which you can do. It depends on the local team members' environment. Some environments are friendly for virtual teamwork, others are more a killer. You have to think about the cultural orientations, the personal experience, and media competence. So when you do this get to know each other process and you do it in a playful way, people will learn the interaction platform you have at the same time. And you will get an initial team culture as an output. So I give you another poll, maybe because I think it's time for you to get active again, okay? Which process is missing most on your virtual team? And you can have multiple answers on this one. Okay, 50% of you voted. 60% voted. Come on, folks. Yeah. 75% voted. Yeah, I'll leave it a couple of more seconds open. And I leave it open, and I will close it in 88%. Yeah, you can make it. You can make it. 100%. Well done. Well done. So here's the thing. Number one is give and receive feedback. And this is pretty much in line what our research is saying. And then the other says organize, get to know each other. And I think if you engage in these two processes, the others engage in trust building, give and rewards, recognitions, conduct meeting management, they're all on the same level. If you really invest into virtual feedback processes and get to know each other processes, you will really have already a big step forward in your performance.
So, based on our model, we have developed few products how we can help you improve your virtual team performance in your team. So first of all, it's an assessment about the 11 processes that you just saw that your team would be able to answer in an anonymous, in a covered way, those questions about each of the processes, and you get an overview of where your team is standing, together with the recommendations on how you can improve the situation or on which processes you can work, and you are then free to decide which processes you want to start tackling and which would be not that important for the present moment. We can guide you through the process, which means we can help you shape the measures, how to improve. We can share with you our knowledge on the benchmark processes that we have from our research, and we can also help you go through the transformation process, which sometimes is can be tedious, but doesn't have to be. And
yes, and there's a question coming up. What is your experience with mixed team cultures? How long does it take, if possible at all, to transform the silence to speakers? So in some cultures, people are a little bit shy, and it's not only a cultural thing, it's more a personal thing. So introverts don't like to talk, particularly if they don't feel really safe with the language. Normally they have to communicate in English language. What helps a lot the team is if you allow for non-verbal interactions, which means like you have polls, you have people draw on the screen, stuff like this, where you can check that everybody's engaging. And like in this case, we cannot talk to you directly, but I can see on the polls that you are really active and switched on and following us. And like this, even the silent people, they get something out of this. And over time, you can carefully encourage the people to speak up, and whenever they come up with a great idea, champion them. Say, oh yes, that's valuable, that's really great. It's because everybody likes to get positive, constructive feedback on his or her performance. Okay, so that's the way to transform it. And if somebody is really an introvert, he will never be active and comfortable on a virtual team, and he will be satisfied and motivated enough to contribute if you give them this way of non-verbal feedbacks through polls and through other means.
And you can also use different ways of communication, like not limited to the group meetings, but you can, as a team leader, you can try to engage your more introverted colleagues in a way that you have a one-to-one phone call or a video call to see what their ideas are. People who are introverted, they usually work through their ideas before they present them. So that also might be something to consider when you're doing brainstorming on a video conference or a phone call. Maybe you want to give that person more time and encourage him to give a written feedback or to come to you or contribute in the way that is comfortable for him or her.
For her. Yes, and also it's good to have other ways of communication, which are, for example, wikis or an online community where they can post things. And sometimes these people have to add a lot, but they express themselves in a different way, not necessarily talking. And an online community is also for us important. We want to create an online community where we have a lively exchange, where we can exactly discuss questions like we are getting here. Questions which are meaningful to you. So look at the model in action. Here's an assessment of a real virtual team. It's a very simple assessment. It takes a couple of minutes to do the assessment. We have an algorithm, and based on this algorithm, you will get a result. So this was a real virtual team, but not a project team, but an operations team working for several years together. And we discussed the result with the team, and then what happens is the team improved. And after about 3 months, the team was at this performance, which means the team selected the improvement activities. We time boxed the improvement process based on the needs of the team. I prefer 6 weeks. In this case, it was 3 months. Initial effort of the team, 1 to 2 hours per week per team member. And you will get a significant gain in productivity. The good thing is you have a means to communicate team performance through processes. And if all the processes are working well, then you can assume that your virtual team has a good performance. And through a reassessment, the people will get feedback that they say, okay, I invested this 1 hour each week for the last 6 weeks, and I really get something back. And I can see that the work is getting better, the project performance will improve. So let's have another poll for you, because I want to have you active. Do you all have the same? Okay, here it is. What do you think? And your own team, do the people have the same understanding of how virtual teamwork should take place? Did you discuss all the things with them, or do you expect they can read your mind? No? 63%, 75%, you really switch, you're really fast. 75%, 88%, and will we make it to 100%? Yes or no? Okay, I give you 3 more seconds. 1, 2, 3, and I show you the results. You see, 63%, maybe some of them, and 57% of you said, no, such a process is missing. And you see, that's the reason why virtual teamwork is not working very well, because people have different ideas, understandings how virtual teamwork should take place. And you have a different view, and then you have miscommunications, you have disengagements, you have poor performance. Thanks for participating. I really love your view on this. And Natalia will explain you now our qualification in virtual team leadership.
Yes, so we have a few offers for you, and how you can learn more and how you can get additional knowledge of how to perform virtual team management in a more efficient way. And we have 2 formats. This is the Introduction to Virtual Team Management, and it's one of them, and Certified Virtual Team Leader is the other. So the Introduction to Virtual Team Management is a 2-hour, 2 sessions of 2 hours, and we give you access to our online self-study tools, and you can decide how much you can work on it. Certified Virtual Team Leader is a more structured course. It's a lot longer, more input from your side, and you will also have an opportunity to do field work in which you perform the assessment for your virtual team and can work on the ways to improve your virtual team performance already in the course. And at the end, you will take the exam and can become a certified virtual team leader.
Yes, there was a question from the audience, how to manage to motivate in a virtual team. I think the first thing you need to find out what motivates your team members. And if you know what your team members need, you create a rewards and recognition system in a way which is really increasing the motivation, which means this rewards and recognition system is really key for the team motivation. And if you have a collective culture, you have to have a collective way to give team rewards. If you have a performing culture, individual culture, you have to have individual rewards. So that's really a topic on its own. It's difficult, but it's very important. Thanks for the question.
Yeah, so who is our target group? Anyone, basically anyone, virtual team leaders or team members, any branch or sector or company, everyone can profit from improvement from our expertise on virtual team performance. So welcome everyone. The course format, everything is delivered online and you can do it from your office or from your home or wherever it's comfortable for you. It's a lot of in-class virtual teamwork. You will actually get the feeling of teamwork. We have exercises that you have to perform with other course members. You also have your free study time that you can just take on your own. Small groups, real small group interaction, exactly. So the structure of the course, as we already saw, there's a few online sessions. For each session, there is an introduction video with the overview of the session. 2.5-hour interactive webinar with questions and exercises and a lot of interaction. And you get access to our e-learning that you can work on your own. We have an upcoming course which starts in just a few weeks on the 4th of September, and I think there are still some places open.
We have a couple of places free. If you want to go there on a short notice, please let us know. It would be nice to fill up the final places. It will take place in any case, and we are really excited to run this again. We also want you to become a part of a global community. We are working on it. If you join our website, vtmm.org, we will start with an online community pretty soon. So come back, visit us there, because I think you have so much wisdom on your own and so much knowledge, and it's really important that we start sharing what is working or what is not working on a virtual team. So it will be an online portal. We have online qualifications. Eventually, once we have the money put together, we have a team management app, and definitely we want to benchmark everything and continue with our research, academic research, because I think if the practitioners and the academic world are working together, you can really achieve good innovation. And we want to do assessments because through the assessments, you will grow in your virtual team performance. So, a project proposal.
So we have a project proposal for you that we bundle our offer in a way that you and your team can benefit the most. So in the initial offer can be a set of this assessment that we were showing you, the follow-up to that assessment, and introduction, the participation on our virtual seminars. Yeah. We also have some sets that we think are quite good for the start, and we have also a good discount on them, which would be you do a virtual team assessment for your team. You get a few hours of 3 hours of our individual work with your team, and you can do the virtual teamwork seminar with up to 10 participants for 1,990 euro. There are some more seminars coming in December, and we encourage you to consider that one. It's a less effort than the big virtual team, certified virtual team leader. So maybe it would be a good idea to tell your team members to go there and to see what challenges, just to be aware of the challenges of virtual
And it will be highly interactive. You will be working all the time on the exercises, so that you really can do the exercises on your teams. It's not just where you're in a listening mode, like on this webinar. Mm-hmm. And we have a co-creative conference. We've met a guy who's called Peter Ivanov, and Peter is really a keynote speaker, and he developed a lot of virtual team best practices. And together we will have a really 4-hour webinar, virtual conference. The keynote will be like this on GoToWebinar, but all the rest will be interactive, co-creative, and it will be a great experience for you. So we talked about the 3 main challenges of virtual teamwork. Think about whether you can remember them. We talked about the 11 processes and explain how you can improve your virtual teamwork in practice. We have special offers for you. I take this very briefly. Now, contact us, and I'm happy to give the people who are on this call who joins our next CVTL a special discount on top of this. Okay, so please contact us after this webinar. And the last thing, we want to know your feedback, because your feedback is so important for us. Very briefly, what do you think about this time we spent together? Well spent, learn something new. You know what you do there. We said poorly spent was not practical enough for you, or a complete waste of time. So 29% answered, 57 answered, 71 answered. Okay. And I give you 3 more seconds. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and you see, thanks for your good feedback. Thanks that you enjoyed it. We enjoyed it. Talking about our most favorite topic, how to stop suffering on virtual teams and how to introduce fun and productivity on virtual teams. And we want to do if you have questions left, contact me. If you want to have the presentation, contact Natalia. I'm looking forward meeting you soon again, meeting you in person somewhere, and I really wish you a great time on virtual team, because virtual team performance depends on your virtual leadership skills and on the agreed virtual team processes. And if both are there, it will be fun. Okay, so thanks for your time. That's it. Talk to you soon somewhere. Stay in touch. Bye-bye. Enjoy the evening.
Bye-bye from me as well. Enjoy the evening. Was nice having you here.
So.